The rough mountains of Santa Fe cast long shadows over the adobe home where one of Hollywood's most famous actors chose to disappear from public view. But on February 26, 2025, a discovery broke the peace and quiet of Gene Hackman's retreat, leaving investigators puzzled and fans shocked. This wasn't supposed to be how the story ended for an Oscar-winning star who had taken over Hollywood on his own terms. When police entered the Hackman home that winter morning, they found two bodies that had been there for days, along with a mystery that would show how thin the line is between normal life and extraordinary tragedy. What dark secret had been hiding in plain sight inside the walls of this New Mexico sanctuary? How could a man who had survived the cutthroat world of Hollywood meet such an unexpected end? When Gene Hackman first came to Santa Fe in the early 2000s, he was looking for a place to get away from the constant attention of the media. Famed person, after a remarkable 40-year career in movies that earned 2 Academy Awards and many other honors, Hackman made the bold and somewhat surprising decision to retire in 2004. Santa Fe, with its active artistic community and stunning landscapes, was exactly what Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa were looking for: privacy, creativity, and peace. The couple embraced the Southwestern way of life by investing in local businesses, including a share of the popular Ginga Bar and Bistro. Hackman spent his time painting and writing novels, drawing inspiration from the desert landscape around him. His home was featured in Architectural Digest in 1990, and it seamlessly combined Southwestern architectural elements with panoramic views of the mountains. Despite his fame, Hackman valued his privacy above all else, becoming a local fixture while purposely keeping a low profile. People who knew the couple said they were warm but reserved. They are nice to their friends but keep their private life separate for 30 years. Hackman's Jr. had been his partner since 1991 and helped him make the change from a Hollywood star to a desert recluse. Together, they made a life that seemed perfect, far away from red carpets and reporters. Hackman was able to follow his interests outside of acting because many people in Santa Fe respected their privacy. They often saw the famous actor in restaurants or art galleries but gave him the space he clearly valued. For after almost 20 years, everything seemed to be going well until February 2025, when the bodies were found. The discovery shocked the close-knit community of Santa Fe. A property worker called the police because they hadn't seen anyone at the house in days and thought Gene Hackman might be dead. When police arrived, they found Betsy and one of their 3 dogs dead in the bathroom. The other 2 dogs were found alive but upset. At first, there was a lot of speculation about what might have happened to carbon monoxide poisoning, but tests quickly ruled this out. As investigators put together the timeline, a sad and unexpected story started to emerge. It showed that even the most carefully built retreats can be hit by natural disasters. The medical examiner's report showed a terrible chain of events. Betsy, who was only 65 years old, died of Havers pulmonary syndrome, a rare but deadly disease that is spread by rodent droppings. She was last seen living on February 11th and had died. Authorities think she died soon after. Gene, who advanced Alzheimer's disease and that few people outside of his immediate family knew about, probably didn't know that his wife had died. His pacemaker showed an irregular heart rhythm on February 18th, which suggests he died about a week after his wife, at age 95, with heart disease making his condition worse. Hackman was relying more and more on Betsy's care, but when she died of the Hunt virus, no one was there to help him or sound the alarm. There were signs of decomposition that they had been dead for several days before they were found. Because their home was so far away and they chose to be private, their absence wasn't noticed right away by others. Many people who had enjoyed Hackman's sharp acting and commanding screen presence were shocked when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. This brilliant actor, known for his intensity and intelligence in movies like The French Connection and Unforgiven, had been quietly fighting the disease. Getting worse mentally, he may have chosen to retire and move to Santa Fe in part because he was starting to show early signs of the disease. This way he could leave Hollywood on his own terms instead of letting everyone know about his illness. In his later years, Betsy lovingly cared for him in their remote home as he slowly lost his own memories. Gene Hackman didn't have a typical path to fame. He was born in 1930 in San Bernardino, California. Hackman's early life was hard because his father left the family when Gene was only 13. He lied about his age to join the Marines when he was 16 and served in the military. Hackman studied journalism and TV production before becoming an actor. His big break didn't come until he was almost 40 years old, when he was nominated for his first Oscar for Bonnie and Clyde in 1967. But it was his role as the tough, determined detective Pete Doyle in The French Connection, 1971, that made him a legend in Hollywood. The famous car chase scene in the movie, which won him his first Oscar, is still one of the most famous scenes in movie history. Hackman was unique because he could play both good guys and bad guys with equal conviction. From the scary Lex Luthor in the Superman movies to the tormented Coach in Hoopers, Hackman brought a raw humanity to every role. His role as the cruel Sheriff Little Bill Daggett in Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, 1992, won him his second Oscar and showed how well he could play both types of characters. Play complicated, morally confusing roles, Hackman worked steadily through the 1990s and early 2000s, with memorable roles in movies like The Firm, Crimson Tide, and The Royal Tenenbaums. His last movie role was in Welcome to Mooseport, 2004, and he quietly announced his retirement, leaving at the height of his powers to pursue other interests. Hackman's move from Hollywood star to private citizen wasn't just an attempt to escape fame, it was also a sign of his desire to explore other artistic outlets. Hackman was a talented painter and co-authored several novels, including the historical fictions Wake of the Purdo Star and Justice for None. He found that writing gave him the same chance to tell stories that acting had, but with the privacy he now valued. Santa Fe's artistic community welcomed him not as a celebrity but as a fellow creator. This second act seemed to bring Hackman real happiness. He was the rare Hollywood star who was able to create a fulfilling life away from the camera's gaze. Jen and Betsy Hackman died in 2004. As news of their deaths spread around the world, colleagues and fans paid tribute. Clint Eastwood called Hackman one of the greatest actors of all time, and Morgan Freeman called him a giant of the craft who never sought the spotlight off screen. The Santa Fe community mourned the loss of two residents who, while private, had been generous to local causes. Their tragic deaths also brought attention to the HAV virus, a disease that is still relatively rare but poses real risks in the Southwest. There are a lot of rodents that carry the virus, and their deaths raise questions about how vulnerable and alone people are, especially elderly people who live in remote places. Gene and Betsy liked having their own space, but that may have made it take longer for their death to be discovered. It is important to check on elderly friends and loved ones, especially those who live alone, and their story serves as a reminder of that. After the Hackman disaster, many people in the Santa Fe area set up better ways for older people to check in with their communities. After the lawsuit, things got even more difficult. Hackman's will left all of his assets, worth about $125 million, to Betsy. Since she died before him by only a week, the distribution of his assets became more difficult from a legal standpoint. Hackman's adult children from his first marriage now had to go through the tough process of probate court to settle the estate. This showed how important it is to keep estate plans up to date, especially for those people who only knew Gene Hackman through his movies, thought that his death marked the end of an era in American movies. But for people in Santa Fe who knew him personally, it meant the loss of a neighbor who had made their town his home. His memory lives on not only in the unforgettable roles he played on screen, but also in the way he handled fame with honor and purpose. From his big break in Bonnie and Clyde to his last movie, Welcome to Mooseport, Hackman always gave it his all. As the sun goes down over the mountains of Santa Fe, casting long shadows across the land that Gene Hackman came to love, we are left to think about the amazing journey of his life, from a troubled childhood to becoming a Hollywood star to a peaceful retirement that was cut short by an unimaginable tragedy. Hackman's story shows how unpredictable life can be. The actor who played some of the most famous movie roles eventually wrote his own last chapter, and it didn't end with the glamour of while Gene Hackman had a lot of movies and 2 Oscars. The most important thing about his life may not have been his movies or his 2 awards. It may have been how he chose to live his real life away from the spotlight of fame. In a world obsessed with fame, he showed us that it's brave to walk away and smart to value privacy over fame. The strange circumstances of his death are a scary warning that even people who seem to be at peace can still be hurt. Gene, for fate's cruelest turns, Hackman may not have been in the news for decades, but his life and the mysterious circumstances of his death still interest us. This shows that real life can have more drama than even the most interesting Hollywood movie.